live. All right, we're live. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the May 5th, the Cinco de Mayo Octant community meeting. This is going to be a good one because KubeCon EU is going on right now. There's a lot of buzz in Kubernetes, and we're going to cut a release today, so a lot of things moving around. So happy to get going on this one. So without further ado, let's get started. I will share my screen for the agenda, and we can start going through what's popping. All right, let's see here. And I'm going to minimize this thumbnail. I believe who's talking up online. So, okay, cool. So let's talk about the first item here, the Storybook 6.3. So this is an effort largely done by Milan, and looks great. It's still on reference.octant.dev, so the URL has not changed. This is version to master. Everything you see is online. And I don't want to steal Milan's thunder here, but certainly the notable piece here is that if you look at any component now, we see this accessibility tab, and this is cool because now we essentially get a third-party tool that tells us how accessible our components are, and we can continue to iterate on this and get feedback in real time. And most of this stuff should look mostly the same. As you notice, this is also faster. Before we'd have to reload, I think it was like React on top of an Angular component. You can correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah, so it's very slow, and now everything's in an iframe, and now it just works.
Right. So the biggest motivation to upgrade to 6.3 was finally Storybook made Angular like a first-class citizen. Basically, the Angular components now are displayed inline and not inside the iframe the way they used to. So that was like a huge motivator for us to upgrade, which brought a lot of performance improvements. However, along the way, we had to do a lot of changes just to get it to that level. And we also changed how we modify the components. Now we used to use knobs, and now we use controls, which is a newer technology that unfortunately didn't work well with inline components. So along the way, we had to change that. And also, there was a lot of changes in stories themselves because Storybook keeps changing their format and moving along. So while doing this change, I basically had to touch every single story and make changes there. And yeah, I think it's a good step towards bringing this to next level of experience for everybody using it, especially with performance. So there's still some issues with the style, especially, and they're working on that. And hopefully, as time goes on, we'll have to improve that as well. And then just adding, Sam mentioned adding accessibility. I think that's important for now, just, to keep an eye as accessibility becomes more important for us. We'll keep looking into this more eventually at some point. When we add the new components, we will not want to see any red in here. So it's a good way to start into testing that and making sure we are compliant.
Yeah, awesome, Milan. Yeah, this looks awesome. Thank you for all your work on this. Definitely tedious, and so thank you for making this happen. And I think like the funny part of Storybook was so quickly that during the span that you were working on this PR, they like upgraded their versions like twice.
Yeah, they're moving fast, and it's probably one of the better run open source projects with the user interface related. Open source is traditionally not that great, and user interface, but Storybook is breaking all the rules there and doing really great work. So I'm glad we are using it. So it's helping us a lot.
Cool. Awesome. Well, thank you. Any questions about Storybook and I guess the new things? Check it out. It's useful if you're a plugin developer or just want to know how Octant works, and this is a fine addition. Cool. All right, well, let's move on to the next one. So this one is more for the folks who are keeping track of the KubeCon happenings. I am hosting an office hour tomorrow at, May 6th. It's 4 a.m. my time, but depending on, for our European folks, this is probably going to be easy to hit, but for most people in North America, it might be slightly more difficult. But either way, you can click on, you can definitely check it out. I'll be online, and you've got keynotes, a ton of great speakers. So even if you're not coming specifically for Octant, there's a lot of things happening tomorrow that's totally worth checking out across a ton of VMware projects as well. So not just Octant, it's definitely worth checking out what Tanzu's all about and how they all mesh together, and just a lot of great people. Just drop by and say hi. So the Twitter link is it's inside this agenda. So we'll just leave that there. Cool. And if there are any questions about this, ping somebody and we'll make it happen. I believe there's technically a limit to the amount of people that can show up, but I don't think we're not going to hit like 50 people at the same time. So I think we're fine. Cool. The next one is going to be the release today. So we've been delayed. I think our target was last week, and now we are just going to have to do it today. I think ideally we'd have something for the office hours tomorrow, and just to just be disciplined about our release timings. If you look into our project board, let's see, something like projects, right? We try to keep the target release dates under the projects tab, and this one I set it to May 2nd, which I think was technically a weekend. Yeah, that was a Sunday. I put the wrong date, but regardless, we pushed it out from last week, and now it's Wednesday. So essentially we bumped it out another 5 days effectively. So I think it's good to just cut this release just so then we don't have to push out 0.21 a little too far, and we can just move the unanswered issues in 0.20 to 2.1. But that said, we've got a couple more additions. I know we've been just talking about the features as we've added them, but I think there are 3 key things that I want to talk about that are going to be new before we cut the release today. The first one being add components to title. This is something that Felipe worked on mostly, and this one's pretty cool. The issue is driven by other people within VMware that wants to build a plugin, but the core concept is pretty simple. So if you look at any of our Octant native views for objects, right, like say a pod, you'll see stuff like a delete button that's on the top right corner. And this exists for pretty much every object. And now this has been generalized to allow plugins to take advantage of the same behavior and add stuff to the top right. So in the case of say a plugin here that I've already had pre-baked, right, we could step on an icon, we can step on a button and then a styled button, and we want to be fancy, right? So this is, it's just a neat addition, and it's something that I felt like we probably could have had, could have had a long time ago, but now it's there, and we'll be able to plugin developers can take advantage of some of the UIs that they are already seeing in other parts of Octant. Do you have anything to add to that, Felipe? Did I miss anything?
No, that's it.
Yeah, cool. So that's 2407, and pretty happy with it. The next piece, any questions about that, by the way, before we move on? No? Okay. So the next piece here is just a thought. So I wrote some code on specifically with managed fields a while back. By a while back, I mean last week. I think the pull request is still there. So the idea is that if you look at our Kubernetes views right now, there's this idea of a managed field, and this is a Kubernetes thing. So this is something that they introduced, I think, in maybe 1.16. But effectively, it helps make server-sided apply possible. but we don't really care too much about that. But the part that does impact us is for something like our YAML viewer, right? All of a sudden now you've got essentially lines and lines of managed fields to run through before you really edit the stuff that you actually care about. And managed fields are things that the way to think about them is like kind of like what is the thing that has changed this object last, right? So in this case, it could be something like the Queue Control Manager did an update operation, changing these fields since the last update. So that's what they're for. And they're effectively, you're never really going to touch this, add and edit. So there was a drive to just get this out of this YAML tab and elsewhere. And when we first did this pass, I did something like this, and it's got copy and paste. It's not great. But then we started working on the storybook. I think, do I have the storybook open? I might not. Reference.octant.dev. Come on, you can do it, reference. Nice. See how much faster this is now? This is beautiful. All right. So if we go to controls, take a look at this. They've got this JSON viewer, and they don't let you mess with the keys by default, but they've got some really good stuff. Like it tells you the index. You can remove keys. You can pretty much edit just the values. And if you want to keep the same old JSON editor like before, you just click raw and then you edit the whole thing. And I think we just want this, but in Octant.
As read-only, right?
As read-only, because you can't edit them anyways. There's
right.
no, like, it's not a meaningful thing. But like, that's what we want. And I think that makes a whole lot of sense. We could just give them the compressed view by default. So that's probably going to be blocking for this. I mean, like, it's technically not, but I think we can just, next release we'll tie them together. And I think this is going to look much better, especially since we also can parse out some of the smarts, right? Like now you get a whole table view saying, oh, the Go HTTP client did an update operation 4 days ago, right? So now it's very clear and you don't have to parse through JSON to figure this information out.
I think that's a great idea. I think that would be good. Especially, I mean, that's the kind of information that you pretty much want to hide, right? It's information used internally by Kubernetes to manage a state, and it's good to know it's there, but most of the time you just want to hide it and not see it. And if there's a little plus sign that you can access it in case you need it, that's great. But most of the time you just want to reduce the amount of noise, so it'd be good to eliminate it. Yeah,
totally. I think Milan and we talked about this during a stand-up, right? But like the reason why we couldn't just fold this in the Monaco editor is just because there isn't really a folding API in the Monaco editor, and there's an outstanding GitHub issue for this. I think a lot of people want the same thing. But even if we could fold it, I think there's like other things to be said about like, well, what if people do try to edit this? So there are a couple things, and we're also using like an NGX Monaco, so we're using a wrapper around the editor. So we'd have to do a bunch of refactors to get just to essentially fold certain lines of code. So it's a give and take. I think we're on the right path here. Cool. Any questions about JSON viewer as a component? I'll probably have to open a new issue for this, or I might even just like I'll definitely add this as part of this PR, but we will need to create a new component for this, and I'll make an issue for it. Cool. And last piece, I guess last neat little feature that was snuck in was just the idea of like a clipboard for secrets, right? So before we just showed secrets, just the key, and we didn't really show them up front just because I think similar to how Queue Control works, they base64 encode everything, so your secrets aren't just visible from the command line, even though it's not really meant to provide a layer of security. But now at least we give a clipboard button, so if you want to yank the username or password, so like for example here, I think it's like this is a kind cluster, so I could just copy something, right? And then let's say I paste it, my username is now admin, right? So that's a helpful tool to just get quicker access to your secret values without having to use Queue Control. Cool. So that's pretty self-explanatory. Any questions about the release today? I'm probably going to cut the release after this. Well, we have one Electron bug that I need to look into. It's we're just getting some kind of TCP connect error. It might be just a race condition thing, but we're going to resolve like a last minute merge issue, and then we're going to cut a release today. Cool. All right, then. File select quick preview. I'm going to let Milan take this one. I think that's from him. So let me stop this share real quick. Whoa, where did my stop share button go? Pause share. Stop share. There we go.
All right. Cool. Yeah, so I just wanted to give a quick preview of something coming up. It's so we always had this apply YAML way of doing things, and ever since we built it, for one of the first requests we had was like, oh, it would be cool if you can, instead of coming here or either typing or copy paste, it would be cool if you can just open a file, and that's something that I've been working on last couple of days. So basically, this will have a user interface that will let you click a button and open on your local file system. You can find your YAML files. So, for example, I'll open this service, and that will populate the Monaco editor, and from there you can quickly apply it, or you can reset, go back, select something different, and apply it quickly. So it's a little easier way of doing things, and it's been requested quite a bit. And this is just one way of using this, and I'm building a component around it. I will call it the file select component. It's been a request for a while. This is how you can see very popular requests to provide a way to interface the files from file system and give especially plugin authors a way to select the file and do some actions around it. So this will be a component, and once clicked, it will create the action. So user can handle that action and do the right thing. Just a sneak peek. Hopefully, it's coming later this week, and hope that, there's some other scenarios that will this be helpful with. Any comments, feedback on this?
Yeah, I have two questions. The first one is, are there plans to add this component as a subset of a form field? I could definitely see like scenarios where it's definitely used in the context of a form. And then there's also like the context here where it's being just, let's pipe it through and just take this text and throw it in apply YAML.
Right. I mean, it could be if you feel there's a need for that. Initially, I was not thinking about that, but I mean, as long as it's component, it shouldn't be hard to use it inside the form as well. So I don't know if we should do something special about it, but we could. I can see that some actions, like, for example, resetting will be kind of more seamless if you do it through the form.
Yeah, I mean, it's totally like, even think like outside of the context of Kubernetes, right? Kind of like upload an image, right? And then like you want to add some other metadata, and then you hit submit, and now you've uploaded your image, right? So, and I'm just thinking more like amongst times like more just more generalized usage of uploading a file. And there might be even a case of something like I don't even know, like, does Monaco Editor support like dragging a file into the editor? I wonder if that's something that they do.
I don't think so. I can try. Maybe they do.
Like downloaded it or something.
You downloaded the file as a browser. Yeah, so it doesn't.
Well, anyway, it was worth a try.
Right. But this could be a drop target, right? So that's another, I think that's even the part of the request was, this could turn into drop target. So that's definitely something we can look into. This is under the covers using the Clarity file component. And I'm not sure they support dropping files, at least not yet. So.
Yeah, we might have to build our own. And and last question is, we might just have to add more context into this, but one of the things about the proposed solution is that it's implicit that you might be able to add multiple files.
Right. There's going to be an option for that.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
that one's going to be, I think there are probably like some weird cases, like at least internally, we want to like build exactly, like we want to be solving the problem they have, but we also want to make sure that we're just solving for the right problem here.
And Clarity component does support multiple. I can try to open that. Yeah, so this is the Clarity file component that I'm using under the behind the scenes, and you can see it has a multiple flag. So it's going to support all those layouts, horizontal, vertical, compact, obviously themes and statuses and things like that. So
nice.
Yeah.
Cool. Sweet. Thanks for kicking this one off, man.
Yeah, sure thing. I think it's good to have, more things like this, because as we get, especially with the Electron world, you're interacting more with the file system. So it's good to have stuff like that.
Nice.
So
all right. Let me share okay, cool. So number of participants on this call, I'm going to just pull that real quick. I had some word from the Kubeflow folks that they were trying to build a plugin, and they were like, yeah, next week. So I don't see them on the call. They might not be there, and I haven't gotten a follow-up. So I'll reach out. I think the core idea still remains the same, right? If you're trying to build a plugin and you'd like some help, or you're unsure about whether or not building a plugin is the correct thing to do, just feel free to ping. I think this is a priority for our team, is to help build out this developer ecosystem. So definitely ping if you are trying to build plugins, but it doesn't look like they're on the call today. So I guess no Kubeflow plugin yet. Cool. Well, do we have any open Q&A from folks? No, if there aren't any questions, then I think we're going to just keep on moving on. We're just going to get that release out. So thanks, y'all, for coming to the community meeting, and I'll see y'all next week then. Later.
Thank you. Thanks, Sam.